Not in like a I've suddenly awakened way, but it's um, like my frontal
Your frontal
frontal
lobe
lobe
is
is developing, bro. I swear to God, I can physically feel myself processing things more clearly, man. Um, Granted, also like I've been doing a lot, but again, physical changes manifest other things in your life, and things are connected on a level that like it's hard to explain because I'm still learning.
Right.
But when I changed the way I was sleeping and eating, um, and consuming, um, I started thinking differently too. Because I mean, obviously, you already are if you're making those changes, but I think that especially at this age, it's easy to underestimate just how great of changes you can create in this life with with intentional movement. Um, yeah, quite literally. That's another thing about leaving school. It's like you can do anything now, whatever the fuck you want.
It's Welcome to the Mike on Mike podcast. This is the first official episode. We got my brother Hakeem Jones in the building with me today. We really appreciate you taking the time. We know you're a busy man. You got a man of many faces, a man of many talents. He's running around all the time. We appreciate you taking the time out to come stop by for a conversation.
Always available for the brother, man. Absolutely, anytime, bro.
No, we definitely appreciate him. So just to get started right off the bat, man, I just want to talk about your journey and the journey of life that you've been on. I know you're only 23, but you've lived a long life.
A little bit. Gotta think it too, bro.
Yeah, no. So starting off, or we met in middle school. Actually, he moved from I don't know where you moved from.
Plainfield,
yeah, right. So we moved from Plainfield, and so just talk about that. Moving around from schools, and then I know you ended up staying in the same school from middle school up. But talk about that when you were younger, especially with all your siblings. I know there's 4 of you guys, right?
Yep, 4 of us. Yeah, we moved around a couple of times, here and there. Life shit for real. Moving to Oswego was cool though. It was nice having somewhere to finally land and stick around for a while. Met the guys, so that was cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know, what was it like, band camp?
Yeah, it was. I think it was band camp. What was it? 7th grade going into it.
Yeah, I think going into 8th. Yeah, man, fun time to be,
bro.
Especially in retrospect. Yeah, just thinking about how the absence of immediate responsibility gives you so much more endless possibility in terms of what
Facts.
you can do with
the dreams were real big.
Oh yeah, days felt so much longer too.
Exactly. The 24 hours literally felt like it was 3 days. Like a week goes by and I'm like, weeks for flying. Well, they're flying now, but back then a week felt like a lifetime.
Oh, forever. Felt like forever, man.
No, for sure. So explain how being one of the youngest in like one of the 2 youngest, I know there's 4 of you guys and there's a decent gap in between you and your siblings. Yeah, so just explain how that gap affected you growing up and just in your youth.
Yeah, it was kind of like we were a pretty tight family unit, growing up, especially even though despite like the age gap. Yeah, just love to hang out as siblings. I think that was something that my parents did a good job of fostering, that sense of just like togetherness.
No, for sure.
It was in terms of like if I had like a best buddy, it was definitely like me and Kamal, my little brother. It was me and him with the action figures and stuff growing up for the longest, and stuff like that. But everyone, it was cool, man. I got into science and just experimenting with different things. I love to get in science kits from like Barnes and Nobles, which just have like the coolest experiment kits growing up and doing stuff like that. My parents bought me a microscope, and then my siblings would help me like prepare samples.
For sure.
For looking at slides and stuff. So it was a pretty tight knit unit, despite them being a little older, which I always appreciated them for that. I remember, like I'd wake up on a Saturday morning, go downstairs with my older brother, and hop on the Wii. Man,
we love the Wii, man.
Whatever that one tank game was, goes crazy.
What game?
That. It was like one of the Wii Sports, or not. It was like one of the more like Wii arcade games. It was like tanks.
Bro. Oh, the tanks game. Oh yeah, bro. That was the red and the blue tank.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Core memories, bro.
No, most definitely. So transitioning, you said they brought you into science and stuff. You were actually one of the few chosen to go to an Apple camp over the summer, over a summer. What was it, sophomore year of high school?
Yeah, I think going into sophomore year.
Talk about that experience and just how that shaped your college decision and just being able to see a different part of the country so young, because not a lot of people are able to travel, and especially for a work project and for Apple especially.
Yeah, it was an interesting time. It was 25 of us from around the country, all different
Get your
spots.
mic a little closer to your mouth.
Oh, yeah.
No, you good,
brother. Yeah, 25 of us from around the country, flown out to hang out on their campus, work on a couple of assigned projects. Interesting time in life. Got to see a lot of things that is not really always accessible to just the general public due to the nature of, corporate operations and how they have to keep certain processes under wraps for the sake of, maintaining that edge in the field.
For sure.
But it was really nice to get the opportunity to speak with engineers and talk about current projects and their work, and just see the process behind how such a large company gets from idea to finalized product. Very, very unique experience, man. And a lot of fun.
I sure hope so.
Yeah. Smart kids are still children. And so it's like, our supervisors were like, you guys are here to work with Apple, so we're not going to tell you too much. Like, just don't get yourselves killed or arrested.
Right.
Have fun.
Pretty much.
And that was it. And
so
we behaved accordingly.
As you should have.
But yeah, obviously being smart kids, made good enough decisions that
for sure
nobody got arrested or anything. Fun times, man. They're doing interesting things these days.
They are. I got all my Apple products, so I like Apple, even though I know Absolutely. Government bans a bunch of products and stuff from China that could be decent, could be real decent, like triple folding phones and whatnot. And I know Samsung has some flip phones now, but like
there are some other brands out there doing cool things too. In nature of the current global stage, man.
Yeah, man, we're not gonna get into that, man. But let's talk about you going to UIC. Because you going to UIC, because I was still at home when you went, so you getting away gave me an opportunity to go see the world. Not the world, but being in the city. This is one of the biggest cities in the country.
And expanding, what was a very small bubble. I mean, going 100%. From child to, that transition is so much bigger, I think, especially in like the United States, just the way that we handle our education system. It goes from like, I don't know, general education on all topics to, okay, now pick something.
Exactly.
And go do that shit, man. Good luck. Which is an interesting opportunity to learn, obviously, about whatever field you're choosing, but also it's a time to learn how to be alive and an adult.
No, for sure.
Even though it's in kind of an incubator of an environment.
Explain that. An incubator of environment.
For some, if you have the privilege of just being able to, and even if you do have to like work while you go to school, in most cases, or some cases, it's just a part-time job, which I know a lot of my friends did that. But it's different than having graduated or transition, however you do, to working every day. Obviously, it's just two different worlds.
Yeah, two different transitions.
Right. You haven't entered the workforce yet, but you've left your primary education stage. And so you have to care for yourself in a lot of ways, but you're at an institution that is ultimately overseeing, in some way you have established rules about how you're going to live in this place with others who are doing the same thing,
Right.
the same place for you. So it's a controlled environment still, which is obviously great for learning and stuff like that. And for more than just learning, in your traditional classroom educational sense. Again, gosh, finding out everyone who started doing their laundry for the first time when they left home. But like,
I never had to go through the dorm experience, so I guarantee that was definitely something. And I know some people out here. Thankfully, I never had to deal with it, but I guarantee. I not guarantee, but we know some people out here are nasty.
Hey, if you were someone who, I don't know, consider it fortunate enough to have a parent who loved you enough to do your laundry through high school, cool. It's just a good step to be prepared for life. Learn how to do your own laundry.
No, for sure.
Clean your environment.
100%. So transitioning, talking about your environment. How did your friends that you made at UIC affect the person that you are and affect your journey at UIC? Because a lot of the time, for me especially, my college experience, it was about who I knew, and not more than what I was doing. Like obviously, I was there for school and whatnot, but I wanted to kick. I wanted to kick it. You know what I'm saying?
One aspect for sure. It was an interesting place to go to school just because it's not a traditional college campus that you might think of when you think of like a traditional university. You're directly immersed in the city, and so I don't know. I think myself and the friends that I made. Well, for one, I guess we were in a unique situation being on scholarship. It was a particularly unique scholarship program. It was
for sure.
Kids who got full rides through one of their particular programs, and who were also part of the honors college. So we were brought on campus, I think, like 2 weeks early. And so it was just us and, whatever sports
and
were
like the athletes, yeah.
Yep. So that was interesting, not having classes yet, only a couple of assigned activities a day. And I was like, all right, go do whatever you want.
Nah, for sure.
Lots of unstructured time. And even if you're an adult now, because, you're 18 or whatever, you are essentially a child with unstructured time. And every child I have ever worked with unstructured time follows whatever whims and impulses that come to mind. And I don't know, plenty of opportunity to get into whatever in this city. I mean, it's an interesting place. I think the older I got, the more it was like less of a fantastical place. Like,
right.
It is just another place.
Right. The dream fog kind of lifted and you got that clarity.
But it's also cool to join the rest of the world in that way of just like, hey, I'm an adult just like you now. Like, I take care of my own living conditions and traveling, and I decide where I go and stuff, and I have to be responsible for myself and my safety and stuff. That was a cool feeling. Kind of, I definitely felt like I was doing a lot of growing at that time. Budgeting for yourself and your expenses and making it to class and shit. Even simple shit,
Right. No, for sure.
That is a task. Don't take those 8 a.m.s. Do not do it.
No, never that.
Yeah.
Never that. This is literally not worth it. You did it in high school. It's just different.
It's not the same.
It's like a different 8 a.m. Like 8 a.m. is like second period in high school.
And nobody, even if your parents stopped sending you to bed in high school, there's no one around to even remind you to say, hey, is it getting kind of late? Because that's what my mom would do as I got older. Like, it was not like, go to bed, it's late. It's like, you might want to.
Yeah, right. It's like, why are you still up?
Right.
Why are you still up?
Right. What are you doing up that you can't do tomorrow?
Exactly.
Right? And that would be like, something I learned to appreciate. That I was like, all right, you're right. I do want my rest.
100%.
Ain't nobody in your environment gonna say that to you when you
Right.
get to school.
Don't you got class tomorrow?
Right.
You don't hear. Well, sometimes if you got good homies, you might hear
You
it
will
every
if
once
you
in a
have
while.
some-
But if
right.
y'all are having a great time,
Yes.
you're not gonna hear that.
You're not gonna hear it because the ones who have 8 a.m.s as well
Are not
are
there.
gonna be on the bullshit.
They're not gonna be with you.
Either there or they're on the same bullshit, and it's like, damn, bro, you were supposed to be my accountability partner.
Exactly. And then we're both out at 2 a.m. and it's like, well, what are we
Guess
gonna
we
do?
gonna figure it out in the morning.
Yeah, exactly, bro. So while you were in college, you ended up picking up the camera for the first time, and you helped me pick up the camera for the first time.
Yeah.
I just want to know, how did you end up picking up the camera?
I'd always had like a passive appreciation for it, just like, wow, I mean, like any human being, I feel like in this current age who has a cell phone with a camera,
Right.
Has probably stopped to take a picture of the sky or some shit. Same concept. I think I just decided like, hey, I like not only capturing the moment, but the art of it, right? Of composing a photo, and translating what I felt to the viewer through the manipulation of the tones and the shades and the textures of the image, and the geometry involved in it. So I think that's what's cool about photography to me, is that it's an art form, right? It's the same
100%. It's a way to express yourself.
Right, painting or drawing. It's just you're capturing something with, through a series of
for sure,
mirrors and shit. So that's interesting to me.
So you done a lot of styles of photography. You do vehicles, you do lifestyle photography, you do adventure photography, you plethora of other types. What would you consider your favorite type of thing to shoot, and why?
These days, I think probably the adventure style stuff. Just because it combines a lot of my passions for things that I like.
Such as
rock climbing, ice climbing, most recently. Just general adventuring, outdoors, hiking.
Explain how you shoot while you're ice climbing. Not while you're at, well, because I know you're not on the rope propelled like in the air with your camera, but not yet. That's crazy.
We're doing some learning and some planning right now. So
right. So in harsh conditions, how does that affect your shooting style and the way that you shoot, or does it not really have an effect for you?
I think it does affect. Any time that you're shooting something like a live event, right, and not some sort of planned out event, or not even event, but
like a set shoot,
a planned shoot,
right?
Something that you've got a set for, that you're orchestrating. This is something that I am partaking in, but taking like an observer role with the shooting and not directing. So I think that's the difference, right? I'm not directing in these stages.
Okay.
I'm capturing and documenting almost in a way as it goes, and just capturing the moment from like a third party kind of view of like, hey, this is what it felt like to be a part of this moment. How my shooting changes for those fast paced things, not too much. I think that I started out shooting in fleeting moments anyways, and I think that it always is. Anything that you capture is. We live in an ever-changing world,
right? No, so, for sure.
Especially when you're shooting out and about in like street photography style, it's like it's there for a moment, depending on what you're trying to capture, and then it's gone. The lighting conditions change, the people move, things like that, and so that's something I've gotten very used to. Of just I set my settings for the conditions. I usually keep a general range of what I want my I just say ISO, ISO,
right?
What I want my ISO to be. And I'll just make quick adjustments to the speed stays pretty consistent, especially for adventure shooting. Trying to shoot as high as I can in terms of speed while still keeping a good exposure. So that depends on obviously what lens I have on my max aperture, what's going to look good for the depth of field that I want. So it's a lot to think about, but not once you've done it all.
Exactly.
A lot of times
you've been behind the lens for a minute.
I know what I want my metering to look like.
Right.
So I'm shooting based off of that, and I'm making adjustments with, thumb and forefinger, and just looking through
No,
the lens the entire
100%.
time. Takes a lot more time to straighten, depending on
Yeah, as
especially when climbing stuff, photos are it, but not always. I think it's you just set yourself up as best as you can, and go for it.
No, for sure. So, are you one of the people who believes that it's not what type of camera you have, but it's like what kind of shooter you are and like how good of a photographer you actually are, not with the gear, like whatever. Up there, we lost the background, but continue. Go ahead. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, always has been, man. I think that's been the case with probably every art form ever. Like, yes, it helps to have nicer equipment. I don't have face tracking or eye tracking in my autofocus system.
Okay.
I shoot on an older camera. It's a nice one. It's a mid-grade camera. It's a
For sure.
mid-grade Nikon, a D7200. Fantastic. I love it. There are cameras with better low light performance. There are cameras with better autofocus tracking. With some would probably argue better color science. None of that matters to me. I mean, I think that I found something that works for my needs in terms of the level of ability that I was at when I bought it. Right. I felt like I could grow into it. I had upgraded from like a very beginner series Nikon. Served me very well for the time I had it, but I was like, okay, well, I'm learning more about how to shoot with this camera and how to shoot with a DSLR, so I'd like to upgrade now to something that'll give me a bit more longevity in terms of I won't feel like I'll outgrow it too fast.
No, for sure.
And I feel like I'm still improving my shooting with my current setup.
So yours is yours right now a full frame or is it APS-C?
Crop frame. Okay. Crop frame. So yep, APS-C.
Okay, all right,
so,
for sure.
I haven't felt like I'm lacking much in terms of quality, or I mean, yes, it'll be nice to upgrade eventually, just for the added capability with depth of field, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But it's a nice setup. It's compact. So are a lot of the lenses. Although
right. No, that'd be the main thing. Most of the honestly, most of the time, because like I shot at the auto show and I didn't bring my camera bag. I brought a little string bag with me, and I only had one lens. So like, sometimes you can't really. It's about the accessibility that you have with it, because having like the huge lenses are great and all, and they're super clear. Sometimes they're heavy, but they get the job done. But sometimes it's about just being able to.
Right. There's applications for it, but love a good run and gun setup. A lot of times I'll just leave the house with my 35 millimeter on there. It's a nice compact lens.
It's a prime, just a 30, straight 35. Okay,
straight 35 prime. Gets down to like 1.4 aperture. So
okay, that's
lets in plenty of light. It's great. Love it. One of my favorite lenses. It's shot some of my favorite photos on that. But my other favorite lens, it's a 55 to 200 millimeter. I've been leaving the house with that a lot more. I love longer focal lengths. And I think I've started to appreciate wider focal lengths more too for different applications. But it's just an interesting way to really isolate parts of a scene, to give more attention to, I don't know, whatever particular subject it is that you're shooting, and highlight it in a different way than maybe you would see with a typical 24 to 70 range that you might get for a lot of things that are shot just walking around.
No, okay, I feel you. Would you say you have like a most memorable shot, or would you just say like, oh, I'm just waiting for the next one?
Like, I have some I really like. There was a pretty good shoot with my guy Joey. He's got a nice Z51 C7 Corvette.
Oh, okay.
So we took that out for some rollers. It was first time I'd ever tried it. It's like, who can I call up who I know is down for just letting me experiment for a couple hours?
Right. So you were hanging out the car.
Oh yeah, man.
That's you thought that was wise.
Shout out, PD for not for keeping it pushing.
We're not trying to get you.
Yeah.
That's too funny.
Was as careful as could be. I've held the camera off of a lot of crazy shit, so I'm not too concerned there. Just gotta go for it, man.
No, for sure. So transitioning from that, you want to talk about how you transitioned from school to work and how that because we definitely talked about it earlier, the transition from high school to college, but now let's talk about that second transition that everybody's going through, and some of us are going through it now, and that's school to work.
Yeah, mine happened a little earlier. Just it was right for the time, of course, for me. It's different. It's just I think it can feel like, especially at first, there's a level of like finality to it. Of like, all right, well, this is it now. Now I'm just I clock it in out,
right,
and that's it. And like, yeah, kind of, but you get to choose whatever you want from here, I guess. Also,
right.
Thing that I'm realizing, especially the further you go, the more time that you spend in whatever your given field is, you get a lot more power to choose your conditions, your rates and stuff. Because you have the history to prove it. I've been working in behavior therapy for a couple of years, so it's it's a lot of fun, but it's a growing field, and
for sure,
growing field there are growing pains. So
small and large.
Yes.
Yeah, please. Yeah, talk about your field and just like what's the driving force in it, because a lot of people like pivot their careers midway through or early on. So what's kept you there?
Yeah, man. I'm coming from a computer science background to now I'm working in behavioral therapy. It's obviously very different.
Right.
However, I think what kept me around, or what even initially attracted me to it, because I wasn't always working as a behavior therapist within the special education field. Started out with just basic paraprofessional work, which is great, but I realized I appreciate the science behind teaching behavior, because behavior is anything a person does.
Right.
Literally, that is our kind of operable definition of behavior. Anything a person does is behavior. And what is the use of behavior? It's to meet a need. It's a form of communication to meet a need. And so learning ways to replace what we call maladaptive behaviors with more functional behaviors, to help you kind of, fit in better with society ultimately. And not even in ways of like, you need to conform, but like, hey, I want to be able to go to a restaurant and order by myself and pay by myself.
Right.
It's a really interesting field because you have the ability to change the outlook for that child's life. And
right. You're touching a lot of people.
Life. A lot of people don't know you can start as young as like 2 years old. When you start seeing milestones are being missed, find a clinic that works, a nice multidisciplinary clinic that works on things such as, any place that has combined services with SLPs, OTs, ABA services, you will you'll see a complete change in terms of what you thought this ceiling would be for your child. Families that were like, well, I never knew they'd be this independent. I never knew they'd be talking and walking this soon and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, man, science can be pretty cool.
Yeah, man.
Its practical applications are quite literally changing people's lives. And I think that was something that I did feel was missing from my career trajectory at the time. And yes, I could have found it in a multitude of ways and created it down the line. And who knows, that's not to say that it's part of the journey to eventually reincorporate my technical background in some way.
No, for sure.
But I left Apple feeling like this was really cool, but like I don't want to just create consumer products for the rest of my life.
Right. You were just feeling like,
Yeah.
Like it wasn't for me. That's the thing. You don't.
I can be a really cool cog in the wheel,
right?
But like, still a cog in the wheel.
Exactly. You wouldn't be fulfilled. Like that's not your. It didn't feel like it was your purpose.
No. And I don't know that I've specifically nailed it yet, but I think that every step I take leads me a step closer to it, and I think
100%.
That's the entire purpose itself. It's just
it's about the journey.
It's about the experience itself. Like you're here to have a human experience, and so. I think when I think about it that way, there are a lot of things that's like my path is very different than it looked like when I was like 11 and first found my first computer science books or like programming books, and I was like, okay, I want to make video games and stuff. So a couple of years later, I'm working at Fermilab, and I'm like the youngest one there because they were
Right.
like, well,
No, that was
we're gonna let this we're gonna let this young man come work in our computing department. Like things looked way different than I couldn't imagine I'd be where I am now. But I think that all of it happens obviously for a reason and but you know, like that actually means a lot, you know, like you'll never be able to realize it might take a long time to see like why certain things happen and stuff like that. But I think that I've realized a lot of those whys over time, and like the longer you live, the more that, you know, you'll be able to process those things. So it's like,
no, 100%. That's deep.
Yeah, man,
no, that's deep. That's real. So you have a demanding career. You deal with
bit.
you deal with special needs children from ages. What ages do you deal with? It's like K through 12 pretty much, right? Or is it K through 18? Or K through 20?
In my career so far, I've done youngest to oldest like 30.
Wow.
So
wow.
In terms of just like services.
Yeah, so that's real demanding. So how do you balance work and life? Because you're a photographer, you're a husband, you're a real family man. How do you balance your professional career and your personal life?
Great question. I'll let you know when I figure it out.
Oh Lord. Okay.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
I think that it's just an ebb and flow kind of thing. Everything in nature kind of oscillates, and so there are periods of really good balance and periods where I feel like
For sure.
I need to reel it in. I think I do a really good job these days of separating work from home and being able to not think about work when I'm not at work.
Right.
That helps a ton. Do not donate your energy to work when you're not there.
Exactly. You're not on the clock.
Right. Stop giving that away. Your energy is an important form of currency that you have to be conscious in what you're giving it to. And so I think that that's something also that is helping me to kind of regain that control over work-life balance, is thinking about how I'm using my energy currency, right? Of what am I paying energy to, and is it returning my investment the way that I want it to, in terms of making me feel better, making me feel more relaxed, making me a little more money, things like that. You know, how am I investing my time, and are those returns worthwhile? You know, spending that energy on.
No, so, for sure.
That helps.
All right. No, so speaking of home, you got a wife at home. You're 23 years old. How did that happen? How did y'all meet?
You know, at a certain point, it's like, I don't know. I knew for a while what I wanted eventually, and I just found it at the right time, I think, obviously, because I think there is no wrong time for anything that happens in your life. It's all, eventually you're going to see why it happened at that particular time. And I think that when we met, I was asking for a while. I was just like, God, I need a nice
I need a nice upstanding woman.
Someone who like feels warm and inviting, and like I think I get that feeling, you know, when I think about talk about spend time with her. It's like the equivalent of like those first spring days when it's like the sun is hitting my skin and there's that glow outside, and it's like I could get down with that for the rest of forever.
No, that's absolutely fire. That's fire.
And so, you know,
no, that's
had to securitize that.
No, most definitely. So, how did you guys end up meeting?
Bro, online. Shout out the internet, bro.
Really?
Yeah, man.
That's surprising to hear. You know, we be seeing the stories on TikTok, on Twitter about, you know, horror stories and whatnot. So, hearing that is definitely.
Oh yeah, man. Took a chance for sure. But yeah, when we talked for a couple of days after I got a number. I feel like, you know, when you meet someone online, whether it's like dating app or like social media or whatever, it's a stranger, right? Like, what am I going to text a stranger about for more than like a couple of days? So I was like, let's go out. You know, you look good. I'm trying to meet you.
Right, exactly.
You sound cool. And she was cool. She was pretty cool. I mean, she still lives.
Right. No, most definitely. Yeah, no, she's cool.
Yeah. I think that's my favorite way to describe it too. Sometimes, like, I mean that genuinely. Like,
no, for sure, you can tell, bro. Like,
which let me make sure, shorty.
No, do your thing. No, but we can all tell. Yeah. Like, yeah, well, you don't be around as much, but like we know you're happy. Yeah. Like, you're genuinely happy. Like being at the wedding, me and my woman, we seen. I was like, yeah, man. We all had our like, yeah, it's a little early. Like, you know, it's like we all just got graduated. We all just figured it out. But like seeing you smile and be you and be happy and your OG's happy, everybody's happy. Yes, that was a good thing to see. So describe. It's been a little less than a year. You guys have been married.
Coming up on that in May.
So describe just how it's been this last year. You know, being together. You officially tied that knot. You guys are linked together.
Yeah, man. It's been fun. Same us as always. I think we, for a long time, we're kind of already like at that point of like, well, I am your person and you are mine, and we're gonna be together as much as possible. All the time, and so things that have changed. Got a cooler ring on my finger. She got
bro,
a nice little piece of,
show that again on, bro.
You know, she got a nice little piece of ice on hers.
Have to.
Oh yeah, love showing up.
Have to.
Man. Yeah, we're popped up on your shorty job,
and just
hey that. Oh, there's my husband. Yep. That's me.
No, I'm not there
that's
yet.
A great feeling.
I bet it is, brother. Man. I bet it is.
When she was finishing school, man, she was bartending, and you know, it's a fucking zoo out here. At any fucking
it's crazy in these streets out here.
Any places.
It's crazy out here. Man. We don't even gotta get into it. We know how it's grimy. Yeah, we know it's slimy and grimy out there.
Yeah, it's always great to pop up and. Love that, man.
No, for sure.
On some real shit though, it was like because it was a job that did the job for her of taking care of the finances she needed taken care of while she was in school. But like it wasn't her favorite, so it was like seeing her face light up when I arrived, and it was like feels good.
Right? No, I bet.
Yeah.
All right, so that's good. That's good. So. Going back into your work-life balance, if you were able to, migrate all your time into photography and putting that for, would you be like, oh, I've been doing this in my career, I need to focus? Like, which would you pick if you had a choice between the two, and then why?
Yeah. If I had to pick a real passion, it would definitely be the photography. I think that again, for me, it's storytelling, right? And I love what I do in terms of my current day job, if you will, but I think anytime that you're working for someone else, it's always going to be just a means of just one stream of income.
It means to an end,
right? It's a means to an end, and not. My end goal is not obviously to stay in the kind of funnel, career funnel I am. And for the sake that it is a funnel, right? These all lead down particular paths to particular ends if you don't choose to, of course, manually change that course. But photography is my thing, run by me, the way I want it done. And that's the beauty of any sole proprietorship or self-run business, of course. So yeah, of course I'd love to grow that and eventually have that. That is my true passion, I think. Yeah, always have just had this intense connection to the way things feel in a particular moment, and I think that's really what got me into it more than anything.
No, for sure.
I want to translate that feeling. And love being able to do that.
No, 100%. So you mentioned that what you're doing right now outside of photography isn't the end goal. So what would you say the end goal is, and what like your future aspirations are? Oh, obviously you don't know what the end goal. We're 23, right. So obviously you're not going to have the end goal. But what do you think your future aspirations are in the near future, or what your plans are?
I think that's an interesting concept, right? Of end goal in itself, right? There is really no final goal for myself personally. I mean, there's things that I'd like to see happen down the line.
For sure.
You know, want a nice big old piece of land.
Oh, bro.
Tucked away in the woods on a little mountainside somewhere. Yeah, I guess if we're talking, quote unquote end goals, like that's it. Land ownership, outright ownership of all my property
for sure.
and stuff like that, all my assets. I think that's been a bigger interest of mine. Thinking just about, the socioeconomic status as a whole of our people, I think is something that I've started to just look at more. And so that does kind of influence my aspirations a little bit in terms of like,
do you want to?
I would like to continue elevating for the sake of myself, but also,
right. You want to dive into that,
right.
Not too much more, but do you want to like explain how your thought process on that?
Less than 100 years removed from so many things that you can't even begin to explain, in terms of equal rights and things like that. Like, this story is so much newer than anyone would like for us to think it is, to feel like
or
it
admit,
is.
Like they say, like it's literally like our granny. Like at
talk
the end of
to
the
your
day,
grandparents, bro.
At the end of the day, bro.
Talk to your grandparents, and then you will understand why anyone who looks like us has such intense aspirations and drive to continue pushing forward and moving the goal stake, because it's only right,
It's only right, and we've had to work so hard at this as is like why settle to be regular.
Especially when I know I'm capable of so much more. So it's time for me to go and get it, right? And I think that means learning. For me, I think one thing that I'm trying to do more in my life at this stage, I feel like at this point I've been in the workforce long enough where it's like, okay, I know how to make a check and pay some bills and pay taxes. How do I actually maximize and optimize my living here? Like, this country is in large part a business, so I'd like to make sure my seat at the table looks good and puts me in a good position, because I'm in a position now where I can think about those things. And my parents, their parents, they were more directly connected to the effects of every single project that has been employed against our people since the beginning of
for sure
all of this. So as I am the next generation, my positioning puts me in a place where I get to dive into those next realms of like thinking about trust planning and
buying land,
things like that,
building apartment complexes and
absolutely.
Starting businesses and all that.
Things that, some of our peers had access to, just because different starting point, right? I think it's just been a big thing for me. Like, I have certain freedoms I desire for myself in this lifetime, and so I'm going to do everything in my power to actualize those. Really simple shit.
No, for sure. No, I appreciate that. I appreciate the
yeah.
perspective, because not a lot of us are thinking like that at the end of the day. Like, it's a rare mindset to try and expand and do better than what our parents were doing. Like, a lot of people say it, but not a lot of people are actually putting in the work and doing it. So it's good to see that you, and everybody, all the homies see that the work that you're putting in. You know, all of us are trying to put in our own work as well, but we definitely see the work that you're putting in yourself to try and get out the mud per se. Even though we not in the mud, but
but continue that path of ascension. I think that's just, it's a unique balance of like, I'm living for me, but like my life means a lot, and what I do here. I think a lot just about, I don't know, like we are everything that came before us combined, and then reiterated again to come back, and then push forward some more with this experience, in whatever way that it's important to you. But like, yeah, in a way, I've been having the feeling of like I've been here for a very long time. Because, and I don't know, it's said that you carry all of your mother's traumas and past histories and stuff like inside of your body in some physical way, and it's like, well, I don't know, if you think about it, I mean, just the direct connection between your life and your parents' life, and that's your origin point,
right? It's literally direct effects, like it, right. Like, yeah, some don't want to admit it, but like you literally are a direct product of your environment. Like, yeah, like you don't want to admit it, but it's like how your parents treated you and how you were raised has major effect.
Right, and now, that's something. It's been a big thing, I think. Understanding programming, right? Because in large part, you are you're just the greatest computing system ever seen. Some would say arguably, but I'd say, without a doubt, the greatest computing system ever. I mean, the greatest organic one.
Yeah, for sure.
And so what do we do with computing systems? We program them. And your first programmers are your parents, your environment, right, as you're growing up. And now it's up to us to decide what's programming me. Is it me? Is it the things I consume in every way? Media, food, water, air, all
that.
It seems a little silly at first, but like
when you really like think about it,
right,
like
the cumulative effects,
like the ingredients you put into your food it's at the end of the day, it might not look like it's doing anything at first. Like I remember the other day I had to make some jambalaya, and like it was looking real nasty in the crock pot at first, but once it like got cooked and simmered together, it was pretty busting. I can't lie. So it definitely means something. But speaking of all the experiences and everything that you've gone through, is there anything such as school, your job when you were younger? Is there any experience that has really shaped who you are as a person? Like, what's the one thing that's like, what, like, or let's say a point that you were like, I need to change what I got. What, like, you know what I mean?
Experience that shaped who I am, like a large one. To that second point, though, of I need to change who I am.
Like, well, yeah, that pivot. Let's say, like, what was that pivot point?
Listen, I've been saying to y'all for a minute now, I feel like, and I feel like this every day, but like every day I tell myself, like, it feels like I just woke up. Not in like I've suddenly awakened way, but it's like, my frontal,
your frontal lobe is developing.
I swear to God, I can physically feel myself processing things more clearly, man. Granted, also, like, I've been doing a lot. But again, physical changes manifest other things in your life, and things are connected on a level that, like, it's hard to explain because I'm still learning.
Right.
But when I changed the way I was sleeping and eating and consuming, I started thinking differently too, because I mean, obviously you already are if you're making those changes, but I think that especially at this age, it's easy to underestimate just how great of changes you can create in this life with, with intentional movement. Um, yeah, quite literally. That's another thing about leaving school. It's like you can do anything now, whatever the fuck you want.
It's literally up to you.
Right. You can pay bills or not.
Or not.
But and it's like, well, yeah, no, I can't. Who said that? Yes, there are going to be consequences, but there are consequences for every action. There is action and consequence. There are just consequences that make us more likely to make a decision or less likely to make a decision in the future, which is, I don't know, very heavily related to the work I do, which I think has also shaped my thinking a lot. Just the connection between reinforcement and punishment and, increasing or decreasing the likelihood of a future behavior.
No, for sure.
All that applies to us. I mean, we're all human beings, regardless of your functioning level. It applies anywhere. So I think that I've employed that a lot in my own life, just in terms of, giving myself reasonable motivators to complete things that I would otherwise not be as motivating, things like that. But yeah, an experience that shaped or like really changed me. I mean, all of them, but big one. Yeah, family splitting up, having a lot of housing insecurity. Mm-hmm. Like I was leaving for college at that time. Didn't know where I was going to come home to. And so obviously, losing your entire way of life is going to
shift your perspective a little bit.
Shift your perspective quite a bit, man. I think that's probably why I think about things a lot differently than a lot of people, because it's, I have a very different perspective.
Right, you've been through a lot more than the average person. That's for sure. You're one of the stronger soldiers.
Hey,
you're one of God's stronger soldiers for sure.
Sign me up for the difficulty plus program. Hey, we'll take it though.
No, that's too funny.
But I think that having that perspective is a sign of growth in itself. Going from like, why is this happening to me, to like, I'll learn why it's happening to me at some point. It's just up to me to move, to do something.
Right. Everything happens for a reason. It's just why. What's that reason?
Yeah. Something that I've been thinking about a lot and trying to live by is, there are no failures or mistakes, only lessons. It's not good or bad, it just is. All of this just is, and I may feel certain ways about things and stuff, but it's interesting because feelings are manipulatable and subject to change, and so I've heard the saying before, and I think that's something that I'm still sitting with and evaluating what it means to me. But like, the idea that feelings aren't real, it's something that you're experiencing in your body, but you can also change it.
Right, and like on the outside, it's not happening.
Initial, yeah, and it's interesting to think about from lots of different lenses. Like you can, I don't know. I think about the fact that like, you can even at work, right? Social workers argue sometimes. It's like, when I ask, from program to program, it's different. ABA is very new, and so people are still adapting to it. The idea that you have to have an understanding of what you have to be able to identify your emotions before you can change them. You don't. I don't need you to understand that what you're feeling is anger just because, or just to make you stop feeling so angry that you're hitting and kicking things and, you can't regulate your breath. Like, you can still regulate yourself without even being able to name those feelings. And so I think just like that concept itself of like, well, these are again very manipulable elements. They're momentary experiences, right?
For sure.
Things you have a level of control over. Like, well, I'm just so angry I can't help it. Well, take 10 nasal breaths and
take 10
really
seconds
commit to it and
right.
tell me how you feel. I mean, yes, you might still be angry, but like, legitimately, I want to know, like, are you? And yes, it's like a very simple example, but that's because this stuff really is that simple. Like, behavior modification isn't hard, and I think that's, you know, humans have very predictable behavior patterns. I mean, that's the whole reason why it becomes a science, right? Because these are trends that we've seen over time.
No, for sure.
General rules and laws, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, that helps a lot, being able to think about that and in your own life when you feel like you're lacking discipline. Yeah, you don't feel like doing it, but count down from fucking 5 and get the fuck up. You know, no matter what it is, you're like, okay, at this time, I have to stand up no matter what. And I think it starts building up those positive associations in your brain with like just giving yourself real positive sources of dopamine. Like, that's accomplishment. When you set out to do something that you told yourself you're gonna do and you do it, that is accomplishing, and your body feels that. Bro, I don't even remember what the original question was.
I can't lie. I'm just letting you spit. You preaching to me. You preaching to me.
Yeah. You know,
yeah.
ADHD get a little crazy.
Yeah, it's okay. No, we were talking about I can't even remember what we were talking about. Yeah, but no, I definitely feel you. Like, emotions are not super easy to control, but like once you figure it out, it's super very controllable.
Yes,
that's the word.
Simple, not easy. That's what a lot of things in life are. I think they're simple but not easy.
No, for sure.
But I think that the more that you can sit with yourself and tell you, like, okay, it might not be easy, but it's simple. It's gonna be hard, but I know I just have to do it. You know, but I tell myself that just do this shit. Just do this shit.
That's kind of
you want it to change. Do you want to stop stressing? You're stressed because you're not doing anything about it. You know.
No, literally. And then if you're thinking about stuff, like, my thing is like, God would not put the idea in your head if you could not do it. Mm-hmm. So like, you just sitting around waiting or pondering, you just need to get out there and do it. Like with my photography stuff, I was scared. I'm like, I don't know if people are gonna rock with my pictures, or I don't know if they're gonna be tough. And then I post them like, these are tough, bro. Like, I really rock with these. Or like, I'm like starting to get like, I got to shoot a baby shower in like 2 weeks. So like, literally like business is getting up. So it was just about getting over that initial fear and just doing. But yeah, I see you. The wife is probably, we're going to get into about an hour here.
Just update.
But yeah, I only got like, let's end it on this, because I know you got to get up out of here soon. But what's the most unexpected hobby that you have? Because you are multifaceted individual. We bike 25 miles one day. We climb mountains the other day. You deadlift 500 pounds. The next, what would you say the most unexpected thing that Hakeem Jones does? Like, what do you do that you're like, I can't believe that I'm doing this and I'm having a great time doing it?
Ice climbing is up there for sure. I mean,
yeah, because I remember
that's very new, but
I remember us being in the car with our women, and us talking about Enzo and them ice climbing, and us both saying, I would never ice climb. That's just not my cup of tea. It's just not safe. And so me seeing them pictures, I was actually, before y'all even posted them, I was in the PlayStation party with Enzo when y'all got back. When y'all got back, he was like, Hakeem was Hakeem was out there ice climbing with us. I was like, Hakeem was ice. He was taking pictures. He was like, no, he was on the ice. I'm like, no way, you're lying. And he was like, yeah, bro. I'm like,
Johnny gave me his shoes. Put these on. So gave me the ice axes, bro, and tied me in, bro. And we was
crazy.
It was cool. I have been climbing with them enough that I trust them. If something goes wrong,
hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully it doesn't.
They know what they're doing. They've been doing that for a while. So, fantastic teachers. Love those guys. And yeah, I've been with them enough to see the process and stuff.
Like, right. No, for sure.
Looks good from here.
Right. Exactly. So, most definitely.
Yeah.
Well. Most definitely. But we appreciate you stopping by. Absolutely. I know you got to get up out of here. I know I seen you texting the wife, and you got to get by. But we appreciate you stopping by, taking time out of your day, out of your busy schedule, and maybe we'll have you on next time in a few episodes or whatnot when we'll talk about some current events and what's going on in the world and whatnot. But I appreciate you stopping by, my brother.